Is used equipment slightly more better than new equipment now? Before we get into that, welcome back to another episode of Downtime presented by Conequip Parts, where if you have downtime, you might as well spend it with us. And if you have heavy equipment and you need heavy equipment parts, you might as well get it from Conequip Parts, 716-836-5069, or you can go to conequip.com/shop, 24/7 shopping. We got what you need, but let's get into today's topic. So Volvo recently expanded its approved used equipment program, and at first glance, that doesn't sound like breaking news. But when you zoom out, it's actually part of a much bigger shift happening across the entire heavy equipment industry. Caterpillar, Volvo, Komatsu, John Deere, all these manufacturers that spent decades trying to sell you brand new equipment are suddenly obsessed with used equipment. And it's not like someone woke up one day and said,
you know what? Old equipment is pretty nifty.
That is what we would call stupid. It's actually because the economy has been roundhouse kicking contractors directly in the face for about 5 years straight. I mean, think about everything that's happened recently. COVID the 19th, supply chain disasters, inflation, interest rates, part shortages, labor shortages, fuel cost, steel prices, insurance costs, shop rates, Kobe. At this point, if somebody told me that oxygen costs $14 a gallon, I'd probably just nod my head and hold my breath. Nothing surprises me anymore. Now, for real, a lot of contractors didn't stop buying new equipment because they wanted to. They actually stopped because they had to. 10 years ago, maybe you could justify a new excavator. But today, you go price one out and suddenly you're questioning if your wife will leave you if you complete this purchase. And spoiler alert, she probably will. You start wondering things like, do I really need a new machine? Can I rebuild the old one? Can I get another 5,000 hours out of this thing? Will duct tape hold a hydraulic cylinder together? It doesn't. I tried. But you get the point. Everything got expensive. And when everything gets expensive, people start looking for alternatives. So contractors did what contractors always do. They adapted. Instead of buying new machines, they started buying used machines. A lot of used machines. The used market exploded. Auction prices went insane. Machines with enough hours to qualify for Social Security were selling for prices nobody thought really made sense. But the thing is, buyers were still lining up because the alternative was spending hundreds of thousands more on new equipment or not buying anything at all, I guess. But the manufacturers started noticing something. Every time a contractor bought a used machine from an auction or an independent dealer or a private seller, the OEM wasn't making as much money from that transaction. And think about that for a quick sec. A Caterpillar machine might change hands 3 or 4 times during its life, but Cat only got paid once, the first time. Meanwhile, after that, everybody else was making money off that machine. Dealers, auction houses, financing companies, independent sellers, everybody except the company that built it. And well, they hated that. So the OEMs decided to change the game. Instead of treating used equipment like somebody else's business, they embraced it. That's where certified used programs came from. Now they inspect machines, recondition machines, offer warranties, offer financing, provide service records, track maintenance histories, and some even include telematics support. They're trying to make buying used feel a little more like buying new, because they realize something important. The future isn't just selling new machines, the future is owning the entire life cycle of that machine. Now, this isn't really about used equipment. It's about control. The OEM wants to be involved when the machine is new, used, rebuilt, refurbished, traded in, sold again, and eventually rebuilt again. Because every step creates revenue between the parts and the services and the warranties and the data, and the point is, it's not one sale anymore. It's a 20-year love-hate relationship that lasts until you don't find each other attractive anymore. And let me know if that sounds familiar. This all makes a lot of sense because machines are lasting longer than ever. Guys aren't retiring machines at 8,000 hours anymore. They're rebuilding them, refreshing them, replacing components, keeping them alive. Some of these excavators are basically getting more second chances than the Liberty Bibberty dude.
Bubble your insurance with Liberty Bibberty and save hundreds.
Are we gonna sit back and pretend that the first one was funny enough to deserve 1 billion sequels? Liberty Bibberty. So stupid. And for the parts world, well, if contractors are keeping machines longer, they're buying more parts. More undercarriage, more hydraulic components, more final drives, more engine parts, more rebuild kits, more everything. A machine that's staying in service for 20,000 hours needs a whole lot more attention than one that's getting traded in at 7,000. And if you watched our last video, you know that OEMs are also paying much closer attention to parts distribution and logistics as well now. We've reached a point where some machines have had 3 owners, 2 engine rebuilds, 1 repaint, 4 seats, 7 mirrors, and approximately 38 different operators who all swore they didn't hit anything, and they definitely did. But somehow they're still working every day. That's heavy equipment for you. The reason OEMs are investing so heavily in used equipment isn't because they suddenly fell in love with old machines. It's because contractors changed, the economy changed, buying habits changed, and manufacturers realize that if customers are going to spend more time in the used market, they better be there too. So the next time you see Caterpillar, Volvo, Komatsu, or Deere talking about certified used equipment, remember, this isn't a used equipment story, it's a story about inflation. It's a story about expensive equipment. It's a story about contractors adapting. And it's a story about manufacturers realizing that the real battle isn't who sells the machine, it's who owns the relationship with that machine for the next 20 years. And judging by the amount of certified used programs popping up, the OEMs have decided they're not giving up that fight without a battle. So what do you think? Are you a new machine kind of guy or a used machine kind of guy? What do you think about inflation? What do you think about the economy? Let us know in the comments, or you can get a hold of us at 716-929-5066. But that's going to do it for today's episode. Be sure to tune in next week to enjoy your downtime with Downtime.
Let me tell them, downtime, it's about time. Big bad problem, trying to strip it down line. Downtime, turning all the cash to dirt. Downtime, getting us back to work.